Hello, I'm Kenneth V. Kelly. If you're a counsellor or psychotherapist in the UK or working internationally and you're wondering how AI will affect your practice, then this video is for you. In this video, I continue my analysis of the UK Parliament's January 2025 report called AI and Mental Health Care Opportunity and Delivery Considerations. Now, this is part 2 of the series, and we're diving into how AI is reshaping the way therapy is delivered, from triage and personalized care to grief support and AI matching therapists with client needs. These changes may feel like they're far off, but they're already in motion. If you missed part 1, there's a link to the description and you can catch up and stay with me to the end, because we're going to look at where the serious investment is going into this space and why it matters to your future as a practitioner. So let's get into it. It's interesting. This is delivery considerations when they're talking about the application. And again, when I started this off, I said this document feels to me like it would be circulated amongst commissioners of services, those buying services, basically saying this is what you want to be looking out for. So it's going to be above our heads, but it's going to impact us as counsellors, psychotherapists working on the ground. So here they are. Improved diagnosis and triage. We get that. I think that having data and being able to interrogate that data on who a person is helps us see what we maybe don't know. Improving predictions of individual risk. So we're talking about risk analysis here. Now it's interesting because when I'm looking at these, this diagnosis, triage, all of these kind of things are human tasks that are done, where you might have an intake questionnaire where you're going to triage someone or ask them a number of questions to work out who they are, what they're looking for from therapy, what's going to suit them best, what modality will suit them best, what their best way of working is, what their outcomes that they're looking for, any challenges that they may have. And from there, we're going to look for risks and create a risk plan and a treatment plan. And what I recognize here is all of that will be taken by AI very quickly, because it really is just taking in data and then manipulating that data or interrogating that data. So that's something to keep in mind. And like I say, every time we get one of these cool tools, it's human hours that no longer need to be paid for because the tools are a lot cheaper. Personalizing treatment, for example, tailoring therapeutic interventions. So again, if we're looking at this, it's doing that assessment, doing the risk analysis, suggesting what is going to be the right intervention for this person, supporting treatment adherence, for example, engaging service users between treatments. That's an interesting area there. And I don't think any of us would argue that maybe a client having something they could dip into in between sessions might be useful. But it takes me back to my counseling training, where we're told that a client should only have one counsellor. When they're coming in for intake, you're going to say, are you seeing anybody else? And if they are seeing someone else, we're going to really examine what's going on around that and whether it is ethical or the best way to work. And why? Because if therapist A says one thing and therapist B says something different, where does that leave the client? They can be confused and lost. Engaging service users between treatments. It'll be interesting to see how that develops and what that looks like. Supporting care approaches, responsive self-management support available on demand and outside of working hours, and matching people with therapists. That's another interesting one. So it's doing all the job of an admissions manager really here. Training or operational support for mental health care staff. That's you. If you're working with talking therapies, you're working in mental health care, and there is going to be a massive call out for that training. I'm going to just underline it again and again. This is a good use of your time. Look into this, learn about it, understand what's going on. Stakeholders also suggest potential benefits of accessibility, scalability, and consistency in service delivery. That paints a very rosy picture of what may be one day. Some stakeholders suggest AI-based tools could support healthcare professionals to provide personalized care more quickly. Other emerging use of AI includes supporting the grieving process. There you go. You know, that's a specialist, if you think about it, it's a specialist area. You graduate as a counsellor, psychotherapist, If you want to go into working with grief and really understanding what that looks like, you're going to go and do specialized niche CPD in order to do that. It's a specialist training. And here they're suggesting AI for supporting the grieving process. Aiding social prescribing, supporting safeguarding, and user engagement with digital peer support platforms. Okay. And then finally, this is an important one. Look at this. There is investment in DMHIs from both private and the public sector. In 2024, the Wellcome Trust announced funding for large-scale projects, and we're talking millions here. So we're talking 3 to 7 million. But also, we've got the local funding that will be going in, the trusts that will be funding in, but there is also private funding. Why would private companies put funding into this? You're going to see in a little bit that it is very lucrative. Again, I did a little bit of deep research into the timeline that this may play out. I'll cover it in another video, and what kind of money is at stake. And it is hundreds and hundreds of millions running into the billions. It really is big money. For today, I'm going to leave it there, but please do and subscribe, because I will be delving deeper into this document, and the deeper we get, the more interesting and surreal it gets. If we haven't met before, I'm Kenneth V. Kelly. I'm an advocate for ethical person-first counseling. If you're here, it means you care about doing this the right way. You want to create a practice that's not just professional, but deeply human. And that's exactly what I'm here to help you do. See you in the next video.